Hi, I'm Andy Parr, and you're watching The Gadget Guru. In a previous episode of my Prevost for Newbies series, the topic was simple. Once you've decided that a new or pre-owned Prevost in your future, well, the next decision you need to make is which chassis do you want? Do you want an X model or an H? You know, the X has that shiny stainless steel exterior, has the taller ceiling height, has living area that's all on one side. The H series, on the other hand, has taller bays, has more of a custom cockpit for the driver, and it has an exterior that can be designed, well, with just about any paint scheme that you'd want. Well, the next decision, once you've decided on which chassis that you need to make, is which converter to go with. Well, today I'm launching a new series, and we're going to go behind the scenes with various converters and talk to them, and have them tell you in their own words what makes their coach different from others? What separates them from the pack? When I come back, we're going to be talking to Millennium Coach, and you'll meet Nelson Figueroa, the president of the company and the man behind the scenes. So stay tuned, because that starts right now on The Gadget Guru. This is Nelson Figueroa. Nelson is the president of Millennium Coach. We're at their offices in Sanford, Florida. Now, Nelson, I've never driven an H. I've never driven a Millennium. But as I've traveled around the country, I've gone to different resorts, and I've met people who have not only new, but pre-owned Millennium coaches. The one thing that consistently comes up when I ask them, how do they like their coach? They say, Nelson makes this a pleasurable experience. What is it that you do that makes everybody say your name right up front?
That's great compliments for sure. It starts with service. You know, and service is a misused word right now. Everybody wants service. But when you do it with honesty and integrity and following your core values that are ingrained in you deep down, to number one, do the right thing, you know, and take care of our customers, it's I think what makes the difference. And it doesn't pay me to just have that mentality myself. My job is to train everyone in their organization to feel and think the same way. And that's what I do. That's my job, is to make sure that we're all rowing in the same direction.
I was only up here once previously. It was only, I'll be honest, he was helping me out. I contacted him when I moved to Central Florida. I needed to make sure that the storage facility that I was renting, that a bus could make a turn. And granted, there was a fee involved, but you know, your folks jumped in, we brought a bus in, boom, no problem. But I didn't get the opportunity to get the tour, and we did that today. I was surprised. You have, I believe you told me, you have 100 employees, full-time employees. Mm-hmm. And you do all of your work under one roof. How does that work?
Very challenging, because if you can think of a business that is separated into seven different small businesses, mm-hmm. You know, we have a full-size cabinet shop. We have a full paint and body shop. We have a full upholstery shop. We have the mechanics and the electricians and the installers. The flooring guys. So it's like running 7 different businesses all at once. And then you throw in administration and regular business stuff that you have to do, business insurance and title work and things of that nature that come with the business. That adds to that thing. Well, you know, the secret there is surround yourself with people that are smarter than you and people that love to do. So our accountant, she loves to do numbers, and that's what she does. You know,
that's a good job for her.
Yeah. So the upholsterer, you know, it's, you know, they love what they do, and then you find yourself the team that is going to support you and carry on your vision and follow the core values.
I was surprised when we walked through and you pointed out that you even make your own sofas. You know, there's a few name brands such as Villa that you'll see common in mm-hmm. RVs and, you know, luxury motor coaches. But you said, no, we build our own. Why did you decide to go that route?
Flexibility. You know, I've learned early on in my career that controlling is the key. You know, once you have that part under your custody, care, and control, you can control your schedule and you can control the quality.
Okay, and let me point out, if you're hearing noise in the background, you're doing some, I guess, some expansion and remodeling in here.
In the office,
yeah. And next time I come back, we're going to get the air conditioner working.
That's right, that's right.
Okay, let's jump over to the show. From talking to you, I don't know if you want to publish your numbers of how many coaches you built, but you pretty much are an H manufacturer. I believe you said you will do X shells. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do about one a year, and now those are custom builds. Somebody comes to me and says, I want an X3. Absolutely, we'll put it on the schedule. We'll go.
But H's are when I'm looking at the resorts, I'm seeing a Millennium, a new one. Pretty much I'm seeing an H. Now, with that said, tell me about the slides you use, because I know there's some confusion out there of, 2 slides, 3 slides, 4 slides, or some valid, some Prevost slides. What is your formula of what you like to do?
So we look at what's out in the industry for sale. Right now there's a lot of double slides being built, and on the floor, on the ground. We have one that we just finished. Normally I would do a 4 slide, but the rear slide outs move forward, so that allows me to either do a big closet in the bedroom or do a second bathroom, or like a half bathroom. Mm-hmm. So it would be a bath and a half. That seems to be popular. That's a 90-inch slide out. For next year, plans are for the 130-inch slide out in the back. Now, we have that. We offer that right now with the Valet product. So we use Valet slide outs. They have been around forever. Those guys are the best to work with. If we need something tweaked or an inch here, an inch there, they're able to do that, of course, with Prevost's approval.
How do you go about getting service on Valet? Now, I say a consumer, a user, an owner. I know that, my coach, I have 2 Prevost slides. I have an X3. Whether I get it, some minor service done at the converter, I can go to any Prevost, mm-hmm. pretty much, if I would need slide service. How does that work from 2 different manufacturers?
The key to service is not to do it. Mm-hmm. So not to need it, do it, but not to need it, right?
In a perfect world.
Yeah, in a perfect world. What we have been blessed with the Valet product is that most times a slide out issue could be as simple as an alignment of the room, or slide out seal, mm-hmm. things like that. Those could be, Valet has some people around the country that can service it. We would rather do it because, again, we have custody, care, and control of that product, so we can control quality and schedule. We have been blessed to not have any, without any, we had no failures on the slide out seals with Valet product. As a matter of fact, Prevost is moving to this system on their newer generation coaches, a little thicker. That's why you don't hear about slide out seals issues anymore. The alignment is all done. It can be done by the end user with somebody on the phone. We can go into the program. We can tell them, lower front corner needs to come in a half an inch, and we can tweak that per area of the room. So we don't necessarily have to do a lot of manual labor on the slide out. It's all done through the keypad, and that's, most customers can do it on over the phone. Again, not a need for that a lot, and that's why we continue to use it. Now, one thing, when we build so we don't have to service. Mm-hmm. It can be serviced, not that we're blocking things or we're closing things. With the service mentality is to have everything accessible, but why build something that fails?
Now let's get into the house, whether mm-hmm. it's the appliances, the electronics. What are you doing different to where an owner, such as myself or anybody, who's buying a new or relatively new Millennium coach, what are you doing to give them a better user experience?
Back to the service, you build it so you don't have to service it. So we do, failure analysis on any brand new part that goes in the coach. We would take it to the point of destruction, basically destructive testing. We spend over $75,000 a year in R&D, and that's actual destroying product to see where.
Now, when you say product, let's get specific. Are we talking washer, dryers? We're talking refrigerators? Are we talking
everything that goes in that coach? Mm-hmm. Anything, obviously the slide outs have been proven, tested, from a Blu-ray player mm-hmm. to a satellite receiver, or a processor, power supplies. There were notorious in some of the systems. So we make arrangements to have those things not be a problem anymore. You know, through R&D, you know, research and development. You know, for example, our processor, our Lutron processor, has an external power supply, so it's not part of the processor. So if that power, 90% of the times, if there's a problem with the Lutron system, it's going to be that processor.
Now, is that user accessible? Let's say
Absolutely.
I had it went bad, and you could FedEx me. How would I get to that? Do I have to pull things out, or is it just boom, unplug?
It depends how much stuff you have in the base.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's down underneath.
Yeah, so
okay.
we don't, you know, and that's another thing, that we don't put stuff inside the coach, you know, behind closets and under the bed, and, you know,
So I don't need screwdrivers and
you don't.
and mallets to
you
try to
don't.
open things.
You know,
up.
I'll give you an example. You know, we had a customer with a Lutron failure. This is about 4 years ago. And people I know, we don't like talking about failures, but I like it because we learn from that. We learn from failures. In life, we learn from failures, you know. So we did have a processor go out, and it was on a 10-year-old coach. And I was able, he called me Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was able to ship him a processor, next day or Saturday delivery in San Antonio, Texas. I had the Lutron rep waiting for it. By 10 o'clock, he was back up and running on the road, done deal. 4 screws and 2 plugs. So we want to, you know, and that, we take that processor back, even though it's 10 years old, we take it back and we send it back to Lutron. And now I want to know what happened. You know, what was the failure? Where did that come from? And if it's a, you know, we have a saying here, if you get one phone call, okay, fix it, and you chuck it to bad luck, you get the same phone call twice, then something is, do you have to look at it, you know, you have to look at it a little deeper. So,
and the third time, oops,
there's
time to find new vendors.
Or if there's a third time we're not doing our job.
Okay, let's go through your electronics. That's more of my area of expertise. And again, the bus that I own has a Crestron system. There's pros and cons. It's great to be able to switch sources and do the whole bit, but they do become antiquated easy. Programming, if I just need to swap out one brand of component for another, it can be costly and time consuming. What are you doing in that regard?
Well, you know, the program lives in the coach. And plus you have a lot of the converters want to do proprietary this and with fears that another converter is going to copy it. And there's, you know, our system is not compared to any other. So that would not benefit, that program would not benefit me. That's your property. That's the owner's.
Is it in fear that others would copy the program? Because programming these days is pretty easy.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Or is it in fear of other people could get the service work or programming?
It could be both.
Okay.
It could be both. It could be, you know, a profit center that they're losing.
If the prices that I paid, and I'm not picking on any manufacturer. The same thing with the home. If you have a Crestron or another system at home, like I just purchased a new one, I put an alarm system, but in there I get to own my codes. That's not so with Crestron. Typically.
Yes. Okay. Well, it's, you know, definitely you need somebody qualified that can work on it. For example, Lutron has over 3,600 dealers in the country that can service it. 3,600. And then...
Now, so Lutron is the heart of your system.
Yep.
That would be like your Crestron.
Well...
Or is that where...
So there's, you know, there's 2 systems. There's actually two control systems. A few converters use Crestron for everything. So if the Crestron goes, everything goes. We separate vital coach functions, air conditioning, water pump, generator, power management, all that is done through the Lutron system. And then the fluff, what we call the fancy iPad integration, that goes through the Savant, which is more on the AV side, but they communicate with each other.
So that's more of your switcher. That's where you can go to one room and send the signal from one direct TV to one TV or a Blu-ray to another. That's your Savant system.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we can go backwards. We can actually have Lutron do the same thing, but we don't. We kind of keep them separated, but again, together they communicate with each other, so they both know. Savant knows what Lutron is doing, and Lutron knows what Savant is doing. And
you know, I think to most of us, when we hear the name Lutron, we think of light switches. We think of decor light switches you see in your home, and they've now gone programmable, and it seems that Alexa's the big word. Everybody wants to have Alexa, but most people don't realize that there's a difference between a switch and a trigger and a routine and a program for Alexa. Just having a trigger is a lot more complicated than hitting a button on the wall. But you did a demo at the Prevost Expo this year, and it kind of blew me away. And anybody has a coach, and you know, you have shades on there that are electric. You know, they make noise. If somebody's sleeping in the other room and you want to open the whole salon, it's like a whining noise. Yours were pretty much silent.
But and that's a feature. You know that now, you know, again, you know, we went from the noisy shades to the proven, tested Lutron shades. And now Lutron is a manufacturer of our shades. They're still Hunter Douglas. They put the motorization themselves. Now it's a seamless connection between the processor and the shade. And of course we get ultra quiet shade function, you know, up or down. So yes. When it comes to the, you know, you mentioned Lutron and you think of a light switch. Well, you know, that's their start. You know, they invented the dimmer back in the 50s. So that's an engineering group that focused and loves what they do. I mean, this is a huge company, multinational. You know, they're in every corner of the world, not just the United States. South America, Asia, you know, Europe, they're everywhere. They are used in anything from a 10,000 square foot home to a multi-level building, you know.
Are the components that you're using on a Millennium coach, are they pretty much the same I could buy at Home Depot? Like if there's a failure on a switch or something or a motor, that I could go in there and say, okay, get on the phone, tell me how to install it.
You could not, no.
Or is it more of a marine type?
This level of Lutron is not available off the shelf.
Let's take this one more step. You know, being a gadget guru, everybody thinks I want the latest in technology. Well, in some applications, yes. But when I look at my motor coach, you know, my bus, whatever, RV, whatever you want to call it, I just want stuff that works. You know, it wouldn't be that much work to go hit a light switch or to slide a dimmer. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes just have a regular remote control to turn on, or walking 3 feet to hit a button. What are you doing to make things more reliable to where it is a pleasant ownership experience?
So we're going back, you know, bulletproof Lutron. I mean, I can't speak.
So Lutron's the heart.
And it's bulletproof. You know, the failure rate on the Lutron system is almost none. And when I've been using it since day one. Now, back then, back in 2000, it was just being started. You know, it was being used on super yachts and big boats. It's a residential system. So not only UL certification, but it's a system that goes in a home. And now you are backed by a company that that's all they do: design and manufacture and service this product. I mean, who better to do it than the people that are professionals, that are the best?
And whether it's Lutron or whether it's Savant, you know, again, one thing that you said that, you know, you are happy to let the owner own the code. So no matter what the situation, anything happens, it's destruction of a relationship, that they're not felt like they're bound to you, that they come to you because they want to come to you.
Yes, and that's it. You know, we want our customers to come to us because they want to come to us. And I'm not going to tie their hands with some silly program that is theirs anyway, I feel. Now, can we put a regular on-off switch on a bus? Yes. But then we are eliminating all the other flexibilities and all the other things that come through automation. You know, we live in a technological world. You know, we have iPhones and iPads, and I saw you answer a text on your watch. You know, I'm not that fancy yet, but you understand that. Imagine life without your iPhone. You know, it's if you still had to send a text from the little keypads and hitting the number 8 button 3 times to get the letter, you know, Y or whatever. So those days are gone. We have to grow with that technology. Now, our goal is to make it simple. So regardless of what's behind closed doors, regardless of the stuff that you don't see, you never see, you know, we want it to work. So it doesn't matter if you come to a wall and you hit an on-off switch or you hit a button that does the same thing, but it's a little bit more intricate. It has some more flexibility. Now, I had customers in California, you know, brand new coach. They're in California, we're in Florida. They call and they say, you know, I would like to have a button. The way that I use my coach is when I leave, I find myself putting all the shades down, and I find myself turning this light on to 50% and turning that light on to off, and then closing the shades, but the passenger shade windshield has to stay open because we have a dog and they like to sit on the passenger seat when we're gone, and they like to look out the window. So we have an exit button. We created an exit scene,
Now, is this a soft button that you would see on your phone or tablet or whatever your input device is?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So we call it a user interface. So we took the keypad and made him a way button. And that button sets the scene for them.
Yeah, I tell you, and I like that. It's as you're saying that, I think of a situation I'm in, that whenever I'm hitting the road for a long drive, I like to have all the shades closed, with the exception of course, the front, but the front salon ones too. So that way, if you have to look around or my passenger needs to look around, but that way I keep it closed. What we have to do is to close them all and then open them up one at a time. I mean, it's not that difficult, but wouldn't it be nice to have one button drive away mode, so you can do that on your system?
And we did it remotely.
Okay.
And that was the beautiful part of that we did it from Florida to California remotely. We didn't have.
Okay, here's a test for you. Okay, I have my iPhone.
Yes.
I'll even show you. I actually have an iPhone.
All right.
I have a bunch of music on here, just like a lot of other people do. So I'm in the coach. How do I get my music here into the driver's cockpit?
There's two ways. There's every coach comes with an Apple TV, so you can connect through the Apple
So
TV.
that you have to do the screen mirror.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't mean to pick on you.
Well,
Bad answer, but go ahead, and I'll tell you why
that's
that's a bad answer. That's one.
That's one way.
If you have a passenger, that's a solution. That's what I'm using, and I'll tell you why. Too much work to go through while you're driving.
Well,
to take your eyes down.
then the solution there is Bluetooth. We have a Bluetooth connectivity.
Are you offering Bluetooth?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's standard in every coach.
My coach doesn't have that, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, I mean that's a simple.
That way I could
retrofit.
go. I tell Siri, I don't do it.
Well, not on your coach. It's not going to be simple on your coach.
Yeah, I got to
because there's some programming to be involved. But yeah,
it's Crestron.
So basically, the only thing you would do there is select a source. Because you have multiple choices on source. So you would select Bluetooth for whatever zone you're at.
Yeah, and some people don't realize that. If you're looking at a pre-owned coach, look at how you're going to use it. You might not realize if this is your source of music. Apple TV, I had to rig one up to do the screen mirroring, or just the mirroring. I'm using for the screen to get the audio in there. Not every coach is equipped. Every converter has their own ways to do that. Now we're running along. Let's just do two things really quickly. Walk me around your base. Tell me what you do. Let's just take your H. You start up front. I assume your first few bays, your first bay or two is storage.
Storage. We keep all our electronics down in the base, so there is nothing behind cabinets or closets.
So that's your Savant, your Lutron, and all that.
Satellite receivers, so on and so forth. Anything. There's nothing inside the coach.
Okay.
Everything is in the base. We have our, of course.
Okay, so walk me around. We're at the passenger side now. We have bay, we have storage, you have your Lutron.
So basically in the base, we can do basically whatever the customer requests. If it's a spec unit, we leave those first two bays open. We just put a TV down there, 55-inch most times. Then we can add refrigerators. Somebody might want a refrigerator. Somebody might want a
barbecue,
wine cooler. Barbecues are standard on all of them. That's in Bay 4 on the passenger side. Of course, then you get into the Bay 5, which is let me take you back to Bay 3. Bay 3 is where all our batteries and inverters and all our switching battery switches are, breaker panels, so that kind of stuff. Bay 4 is our grill on the passenger side with an induction cooktop. It's a pull-out grill. Bay 5 is the pressure washer side of the plumbing bay. So there basically is where we can use our built-in pressure washer with the deionizer tank, so we can deionize that water for rinsing spot-free. Okay. Going around the bus, we use the 4 alternators. Going down the road, one of them is for the chassis, 3 of them take care of the house battery. So, we can run 4 air conditioners going down the road, and people go, oh, how do you do that?
And I assume you use the roof air system.
Oh, yeah, we do. We do.
Now, you've mentioned batteries here a couple of times. There's been a lot of talk about lithium ion. Where do you stand on that at this point?
The batteries are one thing, but the inverters are another thing. I want to be able to give you, the end user, to take away all the guess game of what you can do with your power when you're not plugged into shore power or generator. So you should be able to get in that coach, unplug it, not worry about what's running or not running, unplug that coach, start it up and drive an hour or drive 10 hours, pull in somewhere and run your microwave, run your stove, without having to worry about the generator running or what you're going to trip a breaker, you're going to overload an inverter. The only way we can give you that is through the battery setup that we have right now. The lithium battery configuration does not have the same amount of inverter power. So if I use lithium today, a bunch of things will happen different. Number one, you're going to lose about 7,500 watts of inverter power. So we have 14,000 watts right now. You're going to
they just add more batteries?
But the battery. So if you can add however many batteries you want, but if you don't have the inverters to produce that power and change that power back to consumable power, then you're not doing any good. So the inverter power is going to decrease, cut in half. And I refuse. I mean, we're going backwards as far as I'm concerned. We're going back to having our end user manage their power when they're not plugged into shore power. Now, you could be a beautiful rainy day in Florida today. You know, it's about 72 degrees. This perfect life. A battery loves that. 77 degrees is like their perfect condition. But you know, you're going to travel and you're going to drive, you know, to Texas, and it could be 90. It could be 100. So that temperature fluctuation, the lithiums. Do they not handle that as well? And plus, you know, you're talking about hitting a switch. Remember, you know, going back to keeping it simple. When you have a battery in my opinion, when you have a battery that is regulating you, basically telling you how you're going to charge it, how you're going to discharge it, and how you're going to use it, it's too much. As far as I'm concerned, I want to be able, you know, I like the lithiums. Eventually that will come up. Once they get, like I said, you can put a gazillion tons of batteries in there, but if you don't have the inverters to give you the usable power, then you're not doing any good. Eventually, this lithium setup is going to have enough inverter backup to be able to produce it. Today, I would be going backwards.
You know, with electric cars and everything coming along, you know, batteries have evolved. It's been a very slow process from my point of view, from following technology, but it's a continuing to evolve.
The difference between an electric car and the motorhome is that, you know, the electric cars
You're
not cooking, and you're not running. You know, you are running air conditioners, but you're not running 4 air conditioners. You're not. You know, you don't have all this other circuitry that goes behind it. So you know, the electric cars, you know, 110 volt or 120 volt power is non-existent. You don't need it. You know, so there's no inverters. Now, if our coach had 48 volt air conditioners and 48 volt water pump, and you know, DC power, deleting the inverters, then that would make sense. But then you're getting away from the simplicity of a regular roof air that is available everywhere. Then you have to go something super custom.
Of my time of being a Prevost owner, I'll be honest with you, you know, power is one thing, because if I probably spent 20-25% of my usage time dry camping. As long as I have the confidence of knowing that, hey, when I'm running low, the generator's going to kick on, and I'm parked with the full tank of fuel, it's not that big a deal. My concern more is water usage. Now, again, what formula do you use of how much fresh water, to how much gray, to how much black? How do you figure that out to give people, you know, to allow them to have 3-4 days of being able to take a shower and flush the toilet without thinking about it too much?
Well, a couple of things. That's funny you asked. The water and the coach is important to us too. So we try to we have just one bay to do this in, right? And we want to maximize the fresh water, black and gray separate. But there are some options there that you can tie them together and flush and rinse and do that. But we end up with the biggest tank that we can put for the fresh. You know, we have 175 gallon, well, somewhere around there, 175 gallon, and then we split that. We give you a little bit more of the black than the gray. But then again, another Another thing that we do, especially for the toilets, the old RV, let it sit. If it's, you don't have to flush it every time. Well, that's not the
Flush.
case. Yeah.
Oh, only flush for number 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but we don't do that. Back a long time ago, I took a family road trip, and my son, at the time 4 or 5 years old, just loves pushing buttons, and he would just go to that toilet and then just keep flushing and flushing and flushing. I realized that I needed to make him a button, like a scene, and basically he was the little man. And I said, this is your button. If you need to flush the toilet, here's your button. And what we did is we control the time that it flushes. So instead of a 3-second or 4-second flush, now I'm doing a 1.5 seconds. We went from 3 liters to a liter and a half of water usage per flush. So we call it, there's a water saver mode, and then there's a rinse flush. If you just want to rinse the toilet, you hit that. And now if there's
so it's like a home, a modern home that has low flow or high flow flush, depending on
and that's what
you're trying to get.
And that's where we got the idea from.
Okay.
And we were able to do that.
Is there a big savings between one and the other?
We can do 1.5 liters per flush.
Okay, I'm from the U.S. 1.5 liters versus gallons. What is that?
We have to do the math on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's your homework. Somebody post the answers below. I tell you what, we're running along here. There's one topic we haven't talked about, and it's probably the one thing that everybody wants to know about. Let's just talk about your interiors, what your concepts are, where you've been, where you are. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a link for part 2 right up here. Questions, comments, and opinions, leave them below. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, and I'll put a link to this one right over here. So stay tuned. I'm the Gadget Guru, Andy Parr.